Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of our podcast called Random Cricket Photos That Make My Guests Happy. And before we introduce you to our guest for the day, here is a random cricket photo that makes me happy.
The pitch today looks very good. It's a nice dry wicket.
Magnificent shot, Greg Chappell. Beautiful placement. Jeez.
What about that? Is it in the crowd now? They're into him.
He's not happy. He's not at all happy.
You would not believe that that was possible.
Should be caught. Could be caught. It's Harvey.
There have been few cricketers as eccentric as England's Jack Russell. While that's a well known fact, another fact is that there have been few men as multi talented as the former English wicketkeeper to have played the game. Both the facts are very well captured here in this photograph from 1996. In this picture, captured by Chris Turvey, Jack Russell sits in the middle of a bazaar in the streets of Peshawar in Pakistan, and he's seen painting a fruit seller while others have crowded around him to see what the English cricketer is up to. Interestingly, it was also in Pakistan a decade ago where Russell really took to painting. In 1987, he had travelled to the country as a reserve wicketkeeper to Bruce French, and with just 2.5 days of cricket for him throughout those 2 months of the tour, he had a lot of time to hone his skills by making the myriad views of Pakistan his muse. So when the 1996 World Cup brought him to the country again, here he was, back to doing what he had begun almost a decade ago. This picture for me is representative of the lives that cricketers lead away from the ground. While cricket does occupy a major part of their lives, it's not all that there is for them. This picture brings to light the side that we often don't get to see when it comes to cricketers. Till now, we have had some very special guests talking about their favorite photographs from the game, eminent journalists, writers of the game, experts, and even fan groups. But one request that kept coming my way was, hey, when are we going to hear a cricketer talk about his favorite photographs from the game? Well, your wish is my command. I've got with us, ladies and gentlemen, former India cricketer, a Bengal cricket stalwart, and now a superb commentator, Deep Dasgupta. Welcome to the podcast, Deepta.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you inviting me over. Thank you so much.
That was an introduction that I gave, but your Twitter bio is one that really fascinates me. Let me read that out for our listeners here. It says, dad to two adorable kids, husband to a Wonder Woman, analyst by nature, not expert, broadcaster by choice, qualified coach by passion and blessed, and in between somewhere there is a former India cricketer also mentioned. So is the former India cricketer bit just one of the many identities of Deep Das Gupta? Isn't it one of the most special ones?
True, but I believe in compartmentalizing. I mean, that's just one part of me. I would like to believe I'm more than just an international cricketer. I mean, obviously that's a very, very, very important and a special part of my life. But that is not me, and that's not just it. I would like to believe I'm more than that. And and I guess all of us are. I mean, all of us, we have different compartments, and it's just unfair to look at one compartment differently from the others, even though, obviously, like I said, it's very, very special and important part of my life.
You're expected to be a little less modest than that. As I said, you have lived the dream. Millions are seeing that dream with their open eyes, and you have played for India at the highest level. So that's a wonderful achievement for anyone to have.
Yeah, I mean, that's there. I will not. I mean, it obviously is a lot of hard work over years of perseverance and setbacks and failures. And then you manage to wear that cap. And so obviously it is an achievement. But my point is, it is. But you can't just live by that. You have to evolve, right? For example, at this point in time, I'm living my dream. My job is to travel around, watch cricket, and talk about it. This is what I love to do, and get paid for it.
True. That is actually the definition of living the dream.
Right. Exactly. And on top of that, I am sitting in one room with all my heroes, right? Kapil Dev or Sunil Gavaskar or a young Chappell or someone, and spending time with them, understanding cricket from their perspective. I mean, right. So that was a dream, and this is a dream as well, and I'm living my dream.
All right, let's go back to that phase when your life, you saw that dream unfold in front of your eyes when you were part of the Indian team. So 2001, 2002 is, when a major transition is happening in the team. A lot of young players were part of that team that played in South Africa or England or in West Indies. And then in the subsequent couple of years, India began to win a lot with these young cricketers, Yuvraj, Bhaji, Zahir. So at that point, did all of it in the dressing room seem like it's all coming together? That the team would become so successful in the coming years? Were there signs of things to come?
Yeah, there were actually, and it was like the next frontier, which was start winning outside, away from home, because obviously that's one thing that we haven't done consistently enough over the years. But the most important part was the belief. Before that, it was like, what, you kind of survive overseas series somehow, take a few blows and take it on your chin and you move on. But over that period, you started. There was a change in the mindset when that dressing room started believing that, what, you can actually go out there and win, irrespective of where you're playing, home or away. So I think that self belief and the belief in the team, in that dressing room, I think that was quite evident.
All right. And talking about Bengal cricket, you've been associated with Bengal cricket for a long time, and you've been a captain who has seen Bengal to two Ranji Trophy finals. And this year, once again, another Ranji Trophy final, but the silverware doesn't come your way. So, what is it that is going right? Because reaching so many Ranji finals tells that something is right there. And what is it that is not going your way, not going Bengal's way?
Yeah. I guess starting, the 2005, 6 and 6, 7 season, I think, back to back 2 season, I think it's a wonderful team. It was an absolutely wonderful team with a lot of belief. And bottom line, I think we enjoyed a lot. Not just playing the game, enjoyed being with each other, enjoyed highs and lows. I still remember one game we lost in 2.5 days to Tamil Nadu, and within 15 minutes we were out playing football.
Wow.
Right. So yeah, because you move on. You've lost it. Right. So we need to do what we need to do next game. There's no point sitting and crying after the game is lost already. Right. So so we enjoyed a lot. And obviously when you enjoy, you start doing things differently. You're having fun. Either way, you're having fun with your teammate, because what a lot of people don't realize is your team is your family. You spend more time with your team than your family. So you have to enjoy being with them, and those 2 years, it was brilliant. And obviously then ICL happened and a lot of players moved out, and then obviously there was a slump for a few years. But what has recently happened, and should congratulate CAB for that, 2015 onwards, or rather 2015-16 onwards, started this program called Vision 2020, where it was an academy run by the association. They got people like VVS, Muralidharan, even Vakar Bhai was initially, then obviously couldn't come. T.S. Shekhar. So some big names got involved with that academy, and obviously the top coaches from Bengal itself, like Ronodev Bose, Joydeep, and all these guys, Joydeep Mukherjee and all, they got involved with it, and so you're seeing the fruits now. They got in a lot of 16, 18, 19-year olds, and I think that is something. And going forward, you'll see a lot of young cricketers coming through through the system now in Bengal, greatly because of Vision 2020.
That sounds like a plan, and it's great to see a plan come to fruition. And as you said, that the cup might not have come their way till now, but with the way things are, the way the plan has worked, I think it's not too far away also.
Yeah, that's honestly, I thought this would be the year, but unfortunately, didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, listen, I've always believed when I was leading the side, it's not about winning the trophy. It's about dominating. It's about the process. If you're dominating uh, the domestic circuit for 2-3 years, you're bound to win one or two trophies in that period. So the idea, it can't be just winning one Ranji Trophy. It has to be about dominating for 2, 3, 4 years. And if you look at this team, I mean, you have youngsters, you have seniors, you've got still 2, 3 good years left in them. So yeah, I mean, I'm really hopeful that these guys will win it in the next few years and dominate the domestic scene.
All right, let's get started now with what we are here for, which is hearing Deep Dasgupta talk about 5 cricket photographs that he thinks are special. So let's begin. Which photo occupies number 5 spot on that list?
Number 5 would be the Oval Test match. Way back in '71, India won that series, and I remember that photograph which has the elephant with a hat or a hat on it. It's just it is iconic because that's where you say, we've arrived. The venue Oval, which is like so sacred to cricket and British cricket, and you see elephant, a sign of India, so to say, on that ground. And so I think that particular photograph is something that just I get goosebumps every time I see it.
It was Ganesh Chaturthi that day when this elephant appeared on the pitch, and Ajit Wadekar said that, okay, this is a good omen, and that was the last day of the test before the last day began. And he said, okay, this is Ganesh Chaturthi, I'm seeing an elephant here, so this is a good day. And well, thinking of it, 1971 was a major turning point in Indian cricket with 2 away series wins.
Big away series wins, huh?
Yeah.
Big away series, West Indies, England.
When you sit down to think of it, you're like, hold on, it all began with an elephant then.
That picture for me, it just tells me that, we've arrived. We're not pushovers anymore. So, we are here. We are here to stay.
Yeah, and that year was one where we proved that.
Okay, the next one for me is obviously '83. I'm that generation, right? Where I was 6 years old then. Okay, the World Cup, '83, Kapil Paji, the balcony at Lord's with that trophy in his hand. I mean, it was different. I mean, cricket wasn't the same anymore. In India, at least, it wasn't the same anymore. And that's what it is. I think that's what changed a whole generation, changed the sport in the country. I think that's what it stood for, that we are the world champions. And unfortunately, apart from hockey at that point in time, we didn't have too many sporting icons, right? Hockey was obviously, we were world champions for record number of period. That was also kind of coming down at that point in time, AstroTurf coming in and all that jazz. So it was, and for us, right? I mean, our 6-7-year-olds, one of the main reasons, at least I picked up the sport, was because of that. Because you started, everywhere you go, you'll be hearing about cricket, you'll be hearing about Kapil Dev, you'll be hearing about Sunil Gavaskar, Mohindra Amarnath, everyone from that side. And and then suddenly you're like, I want to be this. I want to play the sport and I want to be there. So I think, and also the ambition part of it, that you can actually be there. I remember in Delhi growing up in that area in Lajpat Nagar, and Roger Binney was married to, his wife belongs to Delhi, and maybe that part, at least that's what I heard. And they were talking about, Roger Binney got married to this family here, and they're like, they're like us. You know what I'm saying? So the ambition and everything else, and you start believing that you can be a world champion.
It all looked reachable and accessible from that point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There are stories and then there are fairy tales, and the more you read about that World Cup campaign, you can totally see why it's been made into a big budget Bollywood flick, because it was nothing less than a fairy tale. And this picture is, of course, makes for the perfect ending shot, with Kapil Dev flashing his warm and gentle smile and handed over the World Cup at the Makkah of cricket. So yeah, a moment that changed Indian cricket forever. Did you follow it, or you were 6, right?
I was 6. I not really, but I still remember. I mean, television was a rare commodity at that point in time, right? But I still remember that we had one, and we lived in a place called Lajpat Nagar, and and evening. This was evening, and the whole half the colony was there at our house because everyone wanted to watch it, and the whole ruckus after that, it was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy, and I guess that's just. I mean, you started playing cricket 24/7. Everyone was talking about cricket. Your parents, your friends, and your uncles, your aunts. So yeah, it was a great time.
So we can say the aftermath of that World Cup turned, a little kid into someone who aspired to become a cricketer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been told, and I've seen pictures of me holding my elder brother's bat, standing there, and we had a chhaja or a chat kind of a thing, open terrace, and we used to play cricket all the time with my elder brother's bat, which was like bigger than me, and when saying stuff like I want to be Kapil Dev and Pamuliv the Jawab ne, you know what I'm saying, and trying to imitate Kapil Paji. Yeah. So it was brilliant.
The generation had found its heroes.
Yeah.
All right. Time for the third photograph on the list. Tell me, which one is it? Which cricket photograph that makes you happy?
Third photograph would be a couple of years, because that was okay. You kind of had started that journey of dreaming, that I want to be a cricketer, and you started feeling that, like you said, accessible, reachable target of being a cricketer. But then comes 1985, right? And then comes a 16-year-old, couple of, 16-year-old and a 20-year-old wicketkeeper. And you saw the Audi, Ravi Shastri winning the Champions of Champion, and it was like hyped. And you saw an Audi car, and at that point in time, the only car we got in India was Ambassador and a Premier Padmini. There are only two options. And you see an Audi, an Indian driving an Audi and winning an Audi. And that picture, especially the picture of everyone on that Audi that Ravi Shastri had won and sitting on it, and Gavaskar sir with that trophy, that kind of validated your dream a little more and say, you know what, it was not a fluke, it is a possibility, right? And that was a mini World Cup. So it wasn't not like a bilateral series or a triangular series, like a proper mini World Cup with all the top sides in the world
happening.
And you saw these young, happening in Australia, and there was 16-year-old, a couple of new faces, Lakshman Shivaramakrishnan, Sadanand Vishwanath and all. And then you and that dream of yours was more focused now. And you, at that point in time, I was a couple of years older and I could understand a little more of cricket. So it kind of formalized more that dream of, making it and playing the sport and stuff like that. And also what happened with that was, as kids, you're not thinking about money, right? You're 8 years old. You're not looking about money that point. You're looking at fame. You're looking at,
glamour.
Your face. Yeah, the glamour and the fame and all that, and cars and all, good looking cars, and you open Sports World. That point in time, there was Sports World and Sports Star, two sports magazines that would come out. And you would open a Sports World and it would be like almost every page you had a cricketer on it and their story, and Sports Star would do the same. And then you're like, this is it. This is it. And I guess that was a very, very important, again, everything is personal and everything is India, because if you go out there are tons and tons of iconic photographs, but I'm talking from a personal point of view and obviously from an Indian point of view.
And this is special then. This is very special. Yeah, there are so many similarities, when I look at it, in this tournament and the 2013 Champions Trophy. Not just the fact that they came 2 years after a World Cup win and Ravi was a star, but also the fact that both the wins were much needed, because after both 1983 and 2011 World Cup, the team suffered a bit of slump, and these tournaments were important to restore that faith and prove that world champions tag was just not a fluke. So an equally important moment in history of cricket, and it just gets a little bigger when you hear that title of champion of champions. So it was also marketed very well, marketed better than the 1983 World Cup, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there is something about cricket played in Australia, because in England, the pitches they do a lot. There's a lot of lateral movement and everything else. But when you look at Australia and the bounce, there is, it is dangerous, in bounces, and it hits you and hits your head. You're like, God, there's like physical danger involved here. And also, I guess also the romance of waking up at 5 a.m, switching on the radio, listening to Richie Benaud, all these guys, Jeff Arlott?
John Arlott.
What was it? John Arlott, right? John Arlott and Richie Benaud and all these guys. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that it still sounds very romantic. It was romantic then. It sounds romantic now. And Dad, switching on the radio before going to office and listening to 3-4 hours in the morning, even before going to school, you would wake up and listen to what's happening, and it was a different time altogether, man.
And add to that the big grounds of Australia and the crowd of Australia. So, then the desire to do well, it adds up.
Yeah.
Totally.
True. And in the 80s, like it was in the 70s, it was even 80s, is West Indies was predominantly 70s, and 80s, it was starting to be Australia, tough, hard cricket. They would only respect anyone who would do well against Australia. In Australia, everyone else is like average. So I think, the new big boys of cricket was starting to be Australia then. They were also reviving from the World Series and everything else that had happened, and the new lot coming in. So the 80s, or the late 80s rather, that's where Australia also started becoming this new superpower again, if I may say so.
And that's why that win looks so much more important when looking back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So right then, we have had 3 photographs from the time before and after you had begun following cricket. Is there something from the time after you started playing the game next on that list?
Next on the list is, again, I'm not going chronologically, is on a timeline. The next would be Sachin's photograph, right? It's a very, very iconic photograph. Him looking up at the sun. It's his last test match, coming out of the dressing room. That's his profile picture. And the whole crowd like raising their hand to the God, and kind of trying to touch him, get close to God. That says everything about that man. That says everything that person stands for. His stature, what he meant to the whole country, what he meant to cricket. Not just Indian cricket, to world cricket. And who he is, not was, who he is. He is God. He's quite literally God. I've had the honor of spending time with him, be in that dressing room. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And that picture is so true at so many different levels.
It's not really a photograph that makes me happy, because let's face it, who didn't feel terribly sad when Little Master left the stage? But yeah, having said that, it's one incredible photograph. And the photographer Atul Kamble, he revealed in an interview that Patrick Agar, of all people, he said that it looks like a painting. And well, Patrick Agar can't be wrong about his judgment of photographs. So you have to give it to him.
And that was such a wonderful photograph, It engulfs everything. And it was so nicely shot. He looking up in his customary way every time he goes out to bat, looks at the sun. And at that very moment, you had this whole group of supporters or fans. That is so iconic, that photograph. I mean, it says so much.
Nothing less than a messiah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's how it looks
Listen,
like.
he changed the sport. He changed the sport across all countries. I mean, obviously, then you had more superstars. When I'm saying superstars, not in terms of just cricket. I mean, I'm talking about products, what we have in other sports like basketball and tennis and all. After a while, they start becoming, they become a brand. They're not just a sports person anymore. So that change in cricket, I think, came with this gentleman, Sachin Tendulkar. Before that, there were superstars, brilliant cricketers, world beaters. But the first cricketer to be a brand, I think it was him. And I think that's the reason he changed the sport, became more professional. You saw more money coming into the sport, not just into the sport, but coming in for the sports people, as in the players. He was a game changer. He was a game changer at so many different levels.
Right. And this photograph captures all of that, the aura of the man, and, is his humility as well, in the sense it's his final innings and he looks up at the skies and there is this light coming in. So, he's that same humble man who started 24 years ago.
And mind you, I mean, that light is only on him, not on anyone else. There's quite a few people there in that photograph. That light's only on him.
God's light.
Yeah, so he's the one,
All right. Over to the final photograph, and I can't wait to hear about it, given how this list has been.
Like the last one. I'm a little torn between two. One is a personal photograph. The other one is, again, an iconic photograph of the 2007 World Cup winning side. Why I'm saying that is from a cricketer perspective, I think that changed again the sport. If 83 changed, was like change number whatever, 1 or 2 or whatever it is, I think the next quantum leap that cricket took, and I'm talking about cricket, not just Indian cricket, was the 2007 T20 World Cup. India won. I think today the game is so different. We see all these T20 and emphasis on T20 and everything else. I doubt all that would have happened if India hadn't won that tournament. So that is one that I'm torn between that and a personal photograph of me and basically Rahul congratulating me after the 100 I got against England. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a personal thing, a personal achievement. I mean, playing for India obviously was a dream, but that got better. The cherry on the top was that 100. And that's that was again a very, very special day in my life. Yeah.
Come on, you've got to tell us more about it. It's a personal photograph. You have your own memories of it. Tell me about the night. How was it to have someone like Rahul Dravid at the other end? How was it in the nervous 90s? Were you nervous?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't. But again, that photograph is also, listen, I wasn't part of that dressing room for a very long time, right? I was there, made my debut at 2000, end of 2000, and the last series was the Australia 2003-4 series, right? So it wasn't a long time that I spent in that dressing room. But that photograph also tells me that I was part of that dressing room. I was part of a very, very special group of players in whatever little way. So it was more than, yes, my 100 and, that's a personal achievement. But that hug from Rahul or that congratulations from Rahul, which is a very informal one, which it gives me immense pride in saying that, I was part of that special group. And when you talk about that group, Sourav, you had Sachin, VVS, Rahul, Srinath, Kamble, Harbhajan, Yuvraj, you name it. And that group,
And
Zahir.
the man you made your debut with, Virender Sehwag also.
Viru. Oh, yes, please. Viru. So, I mean, it was such a special time in Indian cricket. Those 2, 3, 4 years, post that 99 debacle, or fiasco rather, that world cricket went through, and then Sourav taking over, and then and being just part of that transition, and then these guys, taking Indian cricket to the next level was absolutely brilliant. And when I talk about these special people, they were not just special cricketers; they're genuinely special human beings. That's something that I will always remember them, not because of the 10,000 plus runs or match winning 5-wicket hauls or Anil's 10-wicket haul. They will obviously, I'll remember them by that, but I would remember them as very, very, very good human beings. And that's why I think they are very, very special. That group was not just on the field, but off the field. It was special.
And who better to have at the other end than Rahul Dravid? And
oh yes, I mean Rahul. Rahul is. See, the thing that I learned, and okay, my time I spent out there in the middle batting, I think at least 50 to 60% of the time was with Rahul. Be it Port Elizabeth or so be it Port Elizabeth, be it this partnership here, be it another one in Nagpur. So all the partnerships I've had is with Rahul, and it was very, very special because I was learning then. I was not just batting. I was also learning from a master, because how do you build an innings? How do you see it? How do you face challenges? Because in a test match, you've got to play out a spell or play out a session. How do you do that? One of the things I remember, it was the test after this. I got a 15 Nagpur. So, it was the last day, and we needed some 320 on the last day to win it with 9 wickets in hand, if I'm not wrong. I think Dasi, as an SS Das, got out evening, 4th day evening. So the crowd was there, good 45,000 people, and they were expecting us to chase down those 320 odd runs or 330. I don't clearly remember, but it was over 300. And our plan as a team was, we are one zip up in the series. We don't want anything, just bat through the day, the last day, and we go to Bangalore and see what happens there. So obviously I started batting, and so obviously the crowd was looking for something else, and our plan was something else. So obviously we got started, the crowd started booing and all that, and Rahul was there with me, and I was, between overs, I would be like, thoda khul ke khelu, as in, should I start playing my shots or something? And he was like, you know what? You've got a job to do. Focus on the job. And and the way he stayed calm under situations, and, in cricket, we call something is known as step up and step down.
Yeah.
In concentration. So you can't be concentrating for 7 hours. It's not humanely possible to be at your 100% concentration for 7 hours, but you need to, step up and step down. So things like that, how do you do it? And even off the field, how do you unwind and things like that? It's just unbelievable. Spending time with Sachin, Sourav, how does he handle pressure? I mean, Sourav is one guy who's always been in the news for good or for bad.
Always in the news.
Especially that, always in the news. And that period of time, he was going through a rough patch.
That tour to South Africa.
And then after that, India, he didn't get 100 in a while, and there were talks of off the field stuff happening with him, and blah blah blah. And just to look at these guys, handle pressure. And listen, mind you, pressures it's in a different league. That pressure, the pressure is in a different league. It's like everyone wanting you to do well. Everyone has an opinion. You open newspaper, you open a news channel. I mean, and that point of thank God there was no social media then.
Thank God.
Thank God. I can't imagine how this generation handles it. The amount of trolling and negativity around. It's unbelievable. I mean, yes, I mean, when you're doing well, obviously, you see the other side of the story and everyone's saying good things about you. You know, I don't know how someone like Rishabh Pant handles all that. I mean, he was a darling of the nation 6 months ago, right? And the last 6 months, there's so much of, I mean, things like that, you learn from them. And it was amazing, obviously cricketing wise, but even, I mean, things like that, they make you a better human being. I mean, those things that you learn there, it is applicable everywhere. It's applicable in day-to-day life. It's applicable in any other job that you do. You know, those tools that you learn or tools that you kind of imbibe in yourself. And and that's was absolutely brilliant.
And I see the scorecard of that match right now, and you scored from 190 deliveries a 60 at a strike rate of 31.57, and Rahul Dravid scored 26 from 108 deliveries at a strike rate of 24.7. So that was a display of high level of concentration and patience. So we're done with the 5 photos, but what we do after the 5 photos is we ask our guest about a photograph or about a moment. You know, you have had such a long cricket career. So you have to tell me about a moment that you saw unfold in front of your eyes, but it was incredibly special in some ways, but it was not really, captured in a photograph. So is there a particular moment that you have in mind when you think of a situation like that?
Oh, yes. I think there was one thing which happened, and I think this the self-belief that I was talking about with this Indian time, that changed. I think there was, if I have to pick a moment, right, pick a moment would be a team meeting that we had before the first test match.
Against England?
Right? No, against Australia. This is that 2003-4.
Yep.
See, the whole transition was happening, say 2001 onwards. You know, we won a test match at West Indies, and we should have won a test match there. But the Australia series for me was the 2003-4 in Australia. That was a series where we truly, truly started believing in ourselves as a team, as individuals. And I think one moment, and let's say, okay, you've got to give me 2 moments, right? I have to speak about these 2 moments. One was that team meeting that happened. And we got into the team. We had a gentleman called Sandy Gordon.
Yes.
Right. And we had this chat. And mind you, it wasn't a monologue. It was a dialogue. It was a proper dialogue where everyone contributed. Right. So we owned it, that we had a phrase, okay, that was going to be our motto for that series. And we all bought into it. We owned that motto. You know, that was us for those 2 months, a month and a half. So I think that team meeting kind of changed a lot of things. That was one moment. And the next moment was, I think, a couple of days from that team meeting, that 100 from Sourav.
Brisbane, 144.
Brisbane, yeah. I mean, that just, it's one thing to talk about it in team meetings, but then when you see somebody do it on the field, it just amplifies that belief, right? And those 2 days, one was this team meeting and then Saurav's 100 at Gabba. I think those two, and you could suddenly see the spring in everyone's step and that belief, and you could feel it, because the tone in the way we spoke there, that changed. It was more confident. The way we walked was more confident, and we were giving back to the opposition every time they had something to say. We would have two. So I mean, those 2 days or those two particular moments, I thought was phenomenal.
Page-turning chapters in Indian cricket that we haven't
read. Yeah, and again, it was an honor to be part of those 2 days or that series, so to say, because I think that series was a game changer.
Without a doubt.
So that was with us former India cricketer Deep Dasgupta, who told us a lot about his favourite cricketing memories, his time in the Indian dressing room, and several other things that made this one wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Deepda. We hope to be joined by more cricketers in the coming episodes, but for that we would need your support. Please like, subscribe and share this video if you enjoyed watching it. If you haven't followed us on social media yet, kindly check us out on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We are everywhere. And before I go today, let me leave you guys with a cricket quiz question. So, which cricketer turned out for India in the unofficial test match that was played between India and South Africa in 2001 on the tour in which Deep Dasgupta made his India debut? Unfortunately, he would not play for India again, and since ICC had taken away that test's official status, this cricketer's records show that he never played for Team India. So, who is this cricketer? Made his debut in the same series as Deep Dasgupta, but the status of that match has been revoked. While you figure this out, I'll take your leave and we'll come back again with another episode with another cricket lover. Till then, stay happy, love cricket.